Jo, thanks for coming in today. It's really good. Today we're going to try and answer some questions that have been posed by the Facebook group, a collection of several hundred people who've come together they're now adults who were bereaved as children, like yourself. And it's a real high spot for me to be able to connect with this group. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Julie Stokes. I started Winston's Wish over 25 years ago now. People sometimes ask me why I started it, and I guess reflecting now, I think I understand more clearly that probably the reason I wanted to make a difference was because my mum had been a bereaved child. Her mum had died when she was 8, and her mum had died when she was 12, and her sister had died 4 years before when she was 8. And her experience as a child growing up in rural Ireland was very difficult, and some of those difficulties continued all her life. And I know when I started working in a palliative care team, I felt I wanted children to be included and involved as much as possible. And then we set up Winston's Wish. And Jo, would you like to introduce yourself? We met a long time ago, over 22 years ago, unbelievably, when you came to Winston's Wish. Do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so thank you, Julie. I went to Winston's Wish when I was 15, following the death of my dad, who died when I was 14 of a very sudden heart attack. And I was 15 and my brother was 8 and my older sister was 17 when I went to Winston's Wish. And it meant such a lot to me to meet Julie, to meet the team at Winston's Wish, and gain that support. And I guess I've noticed that I've kind of revisited my grief throughout my life. So it's not like I went to Winston's Wish and suddenly everything was okay. You sort of navigate kind of those moments of difficulty throughout your life, whether it's when you get married or have children or you graduate, and there's those moments where you feel that void, that sort of gaping hole of that person that's not there anymore. So it's a pleasure to be here today and to try and discuss some of my experiences with Julie, and if it can help in any way those of you that were also bereaved as children, then I'm happy to help.
Jo, that's brilliant. It's funny actually, on the way in today I happened to see a little film that was being billed as even better than the John Lewis advert, and it was all about a story of a young man I think he was 30, and he was listening to messages that his mother had left for him every year, every Christmas. And it was a wonderful film. It was by somebody who lives in Gloucestershire, actually, sort of close to where we both live. But the thing that I found I was mindful of is I was thinking of all the people who will watch this film and think, gosh, I wish I had something like that. I wish I had a message. And just thinking about you, Jill, and all the many people where the death is sudden and there's no opportunity for any message, and just reminded, as you said then, just the importance of renegotiating loss as you go through life. And I think some of the questions that we're going to hear from the people in this group will remind us of the challenges, and maybe we can come up with some ideas, things that have worked for you, things that are now working for me. I'm approaching the first anniversary of my mum's death this year in a couple of weeks, and it was interesting. Yesterday I was in a store up in London, and I was having some sort of more difficult thoughts, painful thoughts, I suppose, about her, our relationship, her death. And I decided to, when you would come to Winston's Wish and we had the 3 stones, we would have the rough rock, the smooth pebble and the gemstone. And I was thinking, here am I holding on to these rough rocks, the difficult memories, when maybe I could try and turn it round and focus a bit more on the gemstone. And I noticed in this department store this little bottle of perfume. And it was a bottle of perfume that my mum had bought me. And it reminded me of quite often when my mum used to give me gifts, they would be things that she would want, me to have, not necessarily things I would want to have. So she was very house proud, so she would often give me, you know, things to help me bake, and I don't bake or whatever. But this one year she gave me this really lovely bottle of perfume. So I decided to go and buy a bottle of perfume, and they had the opportunity to have it engraved. So I got this little message. It said Julianne bread and jam, marmalade and treacle, which was her nickname for me. And I just thought, I've kind of just turned round a kind of more painful memory into something that I can now focus on, that helps me anchor in a better place. And I think it'd be lovely for us to kind of think about some of the ways that I know you've navigated your own death, because I mean your dad's death was very sudden. It was on Boxing Day, which is also incredibly poignant. And I know now you're a mum yourself, 2 little girls who are very interested in Winston, carrying the little bear around with them. But it is this intergenerational grief that we carry, and how we carry that, that predicts the relationships we have as we travel through our adult lives. I think we might talk a little bit about that later.
Yeah. It's interesting you saying about the gift and the perfume, because it occurred to me the other day, actually, sort of looking at my watch as I was kind of getting ready to go out, and we'd had this bit of a sort of, I guess, an ongoing joke, me and my dad, as we were sort of growing up, that I always used to lose my watch. It was like, go out and go to dance club and I'd take it off, and then I'd lose it. And so watches that didn't have that much value. And then, you know, I'd kind of just mislay it, and, you know, he'd be like, oh, have you lost your watch again? And then on Christmas Day, the day before he died, I actually got this watch, and it's kind of an animal watch. It's not really expensive, but it was the most expensive watch I'd ever had, and I've changed the strap over the years, but the actual face is the same watch that I received nearly 22 years ago. And I remember my dad saying, you know, kind of, oh, does anyone know the time? And I'd be like, oh, my new watch, and I'll tell him the time, and we'd have a bit of a smile and a joke about that. And the fact that, I mean, it's an amazing achievement that I haven't lost it in 22 years after that experience of losing my watch all the time. But it's this little part of him that's with me all the time. I only take it off to go in the shower. And most people I meet don't know the significance of my watch. But for me, it's really special, and it stays with me sort of wherever I go. So I think it can be something really small, or it can be something for me that I got on Christmas Day that, you know, kind of stays with me throughout. So I think gifts do take on extra importance.
I just want to make sure I understand that, Jill. Are you saying that the day after you received that watch, your dad had died?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the day after.
And I think that's what I love about your energy, is that you manage to hold that memory, which is a sort of finality and the sort of pain of that, but with the love that you had. It's really hard to hold the two things together. I think that's what struck me about this film that Phil Beasel had made, you know, this Christmas ad, is that when he finally makes Christmas Day and listens to his mum's message, he's been listening to a message every year for 10 years, and then this particular poignancy of this film is that that's the last message that she's, and I suppose that's quite an important thing for us to bear in mind with some of the people that will be in this face group, is that is the reality, is that it's holding on whilst letting go. I think we call it a Winston's wish. Is yes, you want to hold on to the past, but you have to let go and grow. They call it growing up with grief, and it is a need to expand, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Shall we have a look at some of the questions?
Yeah, absolutely.